Enterprises across industries are beginning to adopt AI factories that to integrate private 5G, edge cloud, and data platforms that to drive automation and innovation at scale. This session will explore how organizations can design, deploy, and scale AI factories that to transform their competitiveness in the digital economy. Joining us are Manoj Prasannakumar. He's Chief Technology Officer at Singtel Digital InfraCo. And next to him is Sandeep Arora. He's Senior Vice President, APAC and MEA. That's Global Sales at Rakuten Symphony. And gentlemen, welcome. Thanks for being here. Of course, we're here at FutureNet Asia 2025. Just real quick, Sandeep, what are your thoughts about the show?
Pretty good. I think we get always what's on the top of the mind for our customer perspective, what as an ecosystem we are trying to get together and get an understanding for the next 3 to 5 years where we are going, what are the immediate requirements and where do we go from next 3 to 5 years. So it's good to get thoughts and challenge them since their times, unlearn and relearn.
Yeah, absolutely. Manoj, any thoughts on the show?
I think this year the show is centered largely around AI, what telcos can do with AI and what AI can do for telcos. I think it's a symbiotic discussion on AI. Quite interesting, quite a lot to learn for us.
Yeah. Good segue. Sandeep, I'm going to start with you. Certainly in the title today, AI factories. There might be some folks out there in the audience that don't know what that is, including myself just not too long ago. Can you define AI factories for us?
Okay, let me just try to put that in a way simple 2 words, in fact. What AI factories? It's actually, I call it a production of intelligence and action. We have talked factory in multiple ways, but I think this is something which is bigger than what we have seen earlier in multiple decades. And what I would like to say is that we are trying to produce co-workers, digital co-workers with us, which can really augment human capability and drive larger productivity and customer experience for where we want to take the business from. So I think those are the key things. I think the raw material for any factory, if you look at it, primarily it starts with data. I think that's a super important part because good input, good output sort of a thing. So data is very critical in how you present the data, what you are like to look at based on the use cases. Because for any factory you need, what are you going to produce or what raw materials you need accordingly. So data is important. I think the next is the model layer, which we can call it the infrastructure layer, which is like the tools and the machines out there to build a model for the data. I think one more important would be the serving layer at the end of the day. How do you take whatever you produce required to what customers will need at the end of the day. And finally, I think the last one, which is less talked about, is the security and the operational layer, the governance layer of it. How do you make these all things come together? So that's how I'll call it AI factory in simple ways, which we want to take it.
Manoj, certainly 5G and edge computing are going to sort of maybe lay the foundation, if you will, for AI factories in particular verticals, particular industries. Maybe you could give us an example or maybe a use case that could illustrate that for the audience here?
Absolutely. So the AI world is fragmented into 2 parts, right? One is model training and second is model inferencing. So for model training, customers don't use cellular networks much. They transfer data over fixed line networks. They train complex models and then they use the models for their critical applications. For inferencing, that is where cellular networks are really being used a lot. Right? If I give you a real world example, imagine a country surrounded with waters, right? An island like Singapore, for example. If we have to fly drones to kind of like do surveillance on coastal areas because we cannot kind of like deploy a human inside the waters to kind of do surveillance and it's not cost effective, right? And imagine these drones having to send video feeds back into video analytics models, vision language models that are sitting in centralized AI clouds, sovereign AI clouds. That is where the cellular network becomes a very important latency sensitive carrier of that video feeds from the drones all the way to models to enable outcomes in real time, right? For example, if you want to spot an object, if you want to spot a person, right, in the area of surveillance, it becomes extremely mission critical. So I firmly believe cellular networks, be it 5G or 4G or Wi-Fi or any type of fixed or a mobile network, is absolutely essential to connect real life data, real time data to AI models to enable outcomes.
Sandeep, oh, by the way, do you have anything to add before I move on?
No, I think he's covered it all. I think the way we want to use it, I think some of the super use cases which he talked about drone and how that's important from a latency specific for a telco network, because latency will become very critical. So how are you looking at it? So you have to see the outcome, what you want, and going backward, what is you want in the production to make it happen. So covered all.
Sandeep, I'm going to stay with you. Look, if we could talk about some of the top line challenges that enterprises may face when we're talking about AI factories. Again, talk to us like we're not as astute as you are on this topic.
No, I think, so it's a journey. Let me just say that. So it's not like one day Nirvana enterprise will get all the magic done and where we are. So it's not going to be a, what do you call, shotgun Morgan sort of example out here. So it's a journey. I think where it's important is that it will be an evolution part. It is revolutionizing, but it's an evolution journey for all enterprises. And when you look at backwards, the first thing which we need to look from an enterprise perspective is, at the end of the day, what problem are they solving for their customers in that aspects? And are they able to define that really areas where AI will be beneficial with them? Right now, it's at a POC level at many of the enterprises. They are doing a lot of pilots, a lot of discuss. So a lot of discovery is going on. So I think the discovery will go on. Compute obviously will play a big role in how these things gear up. But if we define the use cases, right now the use cases, be it in customer experience, be it in operational efficiencies, be it in augmentations in some part in sales, if you're able to define that and get it backward, will be a very good, not a challenge, but the discovery part. The net to it is, how do we want to deliver not only a short-term outcome, but where do we see a journey in the next 3 to 5 years? People have, sometimes I've seen enterprises looking at, in the banking vertical, we want to solve this part of it. In a retail, we want to get AI for correlation, for recommendation. So multiple use cases. But what do you look from a 3 to 5 years, where it will land you as an enterprise? I personally believe all enterprises will be an agentic enterprise over time. And most of the augmentation would be done by agents. So that's why I said it's from co-pilot to co-worker journey. Do we get that right? That's super important.
It's a great title for the next session. Manoj, when I sort of ask you the same question, is talking about integration with legacy systems and data governance, these challenges for enterprises when we're talking about AI factories, your perspective?
I think security is an extremely important aspect for any enterprise, right? Let me take telco as an enterprise, for example. So we have a lot of PII data, personally identified information about customers. And we also have a lot of mission critical data about the performance of our radio networks, performance of our core networks, coverage, load factors, and so on. If we are to adopt AI for our mission critical operations, for example, consider operating the network or delivering customer experience, we kind of care about security the most, because we are exposing all our data to the models if we adopt those models for an AI-driven customer experience transformation or whatever the use cases. So for us, building the guardrails around things like identity, how do we ensure that the AI models are only responding to queries that they are supposed to respond to? And how do we ensure that only authorized data sources are sending data in a secure manner to the models without any possibility of man in the middle or any other tampering, even at transit, right? These are some very important considerations. And the other dimension of security is also the performance of the model itself. How do we ensure that the model doesn't have bias? Because in many enterprises, the data probably may not be in its best form to train models, right? So AI, if it is garbage in, is garbage out. So how do we ensure that we prepare data in the best quality to ensure that the AI models are trained with the best possible accuracy, and without any bias? And we also kind of see even popular models from many established companies hallucinating, which is going around in the press very often. So we are very concerned, not just us, any enterprise would be very concerned on how do we build a deployable, usable model with a reasonable degree of confidence that the predictions and outcomes coming in from those models are really deployable and usable in mission critical applications.
Sandeep, I wanted to ask you your position on the role of telcos in co-developing AI factories with your enterprise customers. What's that role?
I think it's supremely important that the way the telco works together, because telco provides a last mile to each of the B2C or B2B customers, and they are going up the value chain in terms of it. I personally believe this is the time for telcos to little bit disrupt themselves. Sure. We have seen multiple journeys where telcos have not been able to go up the value chain, when they have tried a lot. But they have not been able to value monetize beyond the connectivity part. But this again, a time comes for them, an opportunity for them to see how they can really get to that aspect and solve some of the B2B and B2C challenges. Now, it's easier said than done. I 100% agree. And at Rakuten, if you look at it, if we call data as the core of all these AI models and AI, where we are taking it, then we need to look at a very different approach to our networks, to our system, to our processes as a telecom provider. For me, for us in Rakuten, we need to look as a data center approach to a network. Now, that's not easier said than done, because we have been having very traditional networks, traditional way. We want to build, if we are looking at data, can I take data to the edge? When he talked about drone, to the edge, and can I build a micro data center instead of just building a BTS site or a POP site out there? And that's the way we have tried to look at it. It's ANization of the whole network. And how do you build the networks, where you build networks thinking about them as data centers across, from micro to edge to macro data centers? How do you process those data? How do you take them along and make sure that the quality of data which you are trying to adopt and give it back at a real-time basis is going to be your try to do it as. So a lot of things to talk about, but the approach has to be different, not a traditional way if you really want to take AI really serious about to the customers.
Yeah. Manoj, Sandeep mentioned this already, talking about agentic AI and the role with AI factories as we move maybe to the next G. I always hate asking that question because I don't like to say the next. But as we move towards that, what's that relationship going to look like between agentic AI and AI factories?
I think agentic AI is an application that can sit on an AI factory, right? And every enterprise would have tons of agents that they want to build to solve a variety of use cases. But what matters the most, in my view, is the AI factory. Is it scalable? Is it sustainable? Is it built to accommodate more complex agents at scale, right? So that is an approach that Singtel, we kind of always have in consideration. And what we did, for example, as a telco, to enable that AI factory is we carved out our data center business into a separate company called Digital InfraCo. And we transformed our legacy compute world data centers, which can take probably 5 megawatts a rack, 10 megawatts a rack, into AI data center by deploying direct-to-chip liquid cooling. And now we can take up to like 150, 200 kilowatts a rack, right? And this is very important role that a telco can play, telcos who operate data centers, in enabling AI factories for enterprises and enabling AI factories even for nations, right? And AI factory doesn't stop at the infrastructure layer on the data center. What matters is the GPU layer on top, right? So Singtel also took a bold step in enabling GPUs for the industry. So we created a business called Re-AI, where we brought in state-of-the-art GPU chips from NVIDIA, the Hopper chips, the Grace Blackwell chips. And today we are the only Grace Blackwell operator in Singapore. And we see it's a combination of state-of-the-art AI chips, liquid-cooled data centers, and hyper-connected networks, with the ability for customer to bring in data through a fixed network or ability for a customer to bring data to a mobile network, and the telco's ability to offer quality of service in bringing that data in a latency-assured manner, throughput-assured manner into the powerful GPUs, which can run in a sustainable liquid-cooled data center. This is a magical combination that will enable AI factories of the future. And this is a role that every telco can do for the respective nations. And this is exactly what Singtel has done with our digital InfraCo strategy, with our data center business Nexera and our GPU cloud business Re-AI, and combining that with our software capability, Paragon orchestration platform, enabling turnkey AI factories for the enterprises.
Sandeep, anything to add as far as the future? I know you already mentioned this a couple of times, the future of AI factories when we're talking about agentic AI, and as we move to the next G as well.
Just one thing to add on. I think right now, when we think about data centers, to be honest, we are thinking about centralized data centers. I don't think so that's going to work for long-term perspective. Data centers needs to go to the edge and the excess of it. And that means that we need to start thinking about how do we take data closer to our enterprise customers and our consumers out there. So what that entails when you look at architectures and not how do you build those systems over time. I think that's where we need to look at. If we are looking at the factory work perspective, how at the end of the day are we going to be a more intelligent factory to produce something which is more intelligent and more actionable? Agentic, I personally, as I mentioned, it's a journey from being a co-pilot to a co-worker.
Yeah.
I really believe that let's not think agents as a tool. Agents needs to be thought as a co-workers, and how will they augment humans in all these areas which we are building up use cases. You might see a company in the future which doesn't have any humans, but only agents working in the company. So let's see how it happens.
Agentic AI could be fully autonomous, you think? Yes. In what timeline are we talking about here?
Trust me.
I know there's no answer.
Question, but at the end of the day, what are we looking at? We are looking at intelligence and actions to come together in a multi-agent environment. And if we are able to do that, you might start with a small company and make it only an agent company. So when you go over to HR, these are the 10 agents which are working for the company. That's it.
Yeah, it's exciting. Yeah.
So you might have agents sitting out there giving a future. In the future, a future net session will be only agents.
Yeah,
Maybe an agent in the future.
yeah. At least we don't have to fly. AI Factories for Enterprises is the title of this session. It's good to have both of you on the discussion. We think we picked the right folks here. Manoj, good to meet you, by the way. I feel like we've done this before, but I guess not. I have to go dig into our library and find out. But again, it was good to see you.
Good to see you.
Sandeep, as always,
a pleasure.
good to have your insight.
Always have.
And again, by next week, we'll have to figure out where on the globe you are. You must have frequent flyer miles more than anybody else.
Yeah, ask my wife and my dog. They miss me a lot.
Sorry, I will be a pilot.
Anyway, it's good to see both of you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.